welcome back. Once again, adventurers, to Let's Play ChäoS Child. In the last episode, Hinae Arimura was reminiscing about her unspoken past, the past between herself and her estranged family. Family that she was once happy with, once upon a time. And on a completely different subject, Takuru Miyashiro was surprised, just as well as I was, about the news that the pyrokinetic gigglomaniac Riko Haida had actually been arrested and is now in police custody, of all things, which, yeah, all's well that ends well, right? Well, not really. Because with Riko's arrest and incarceration, yeah, things have changed. As a certain individual once said, when you change the past, whatever you knew whatever you knew about the present and future was thrown out the window. And I know I've both flubbed and paraphrased that very sentence, but what can you do? But it's been 4 days since Riko's arrest. But there have been no new developments in the case. Yeah.
で、どうする?
In other words, Takuru's spending a very lazy morning being bored. Or is it afternoon? Don't quite know yet. But, yeah. Just because Riko's been locked away doesn't mean that the murders are over anytime soon, because, not too many people know this, especially at this point in time, but Riko Haida isn't the return of the new generation madness serial killer.
おい、聞いてんのかよ、宮代。聞いてるよ。これからの新聞部の方向性だろ。ったく、分かってんならそう言えよ。ボケーっと窓の外なんか見て、気の抜けたあくびしやがって。
Well, boredom tends to do that to people. I was bored, as if that weren't already obvious. It had been a month and a half since the Don't Look at Me case. So much had happened, then everything had suddenly come to a halt. I wasn't sure how to handle all this peace and quiet. Part of me was hoping that there'd be some new development. And part of me was thinking that maybe this was just how it was going to come to an end.
まあ、女帝との約束もあんだろうし、しょうがないっちゃしょうがないんだろうけどさ。
Probably not.
別にそういうんじゃないよ。ただ、何も起きなければ動きようがないってだけだ。
And also, Takuru is sort of, trapped himself in a corner with his previous sentiment that he didn't want any more people to die as a result of the return of the new generation madness, but he also wanted more developments with the previous victims. In fact, the whole madness with the sumo stickers was starting to recede as well. According to Serika, all the stickers that had been covering the city had been removed when she'd gone into town yesterday. according to her. The government must have taken them down or something. Maybe. Just seeing them was enough to make me sick. I was pretty glad, but...
あれは
I looked down out the window and saw an unusual pairing.
どうした？
いや、
ああ、なんだ。有村に和樹か。
And speaking of unusual pairings, there's Hinae and Hana, who also, for some reason, due to Hinae's usual chipper, extroverted energy, actually spoke some words for the first time. Now, I know you're all surprised by this. I know I certainly am. But Hana Kazuki was actually able, for the first time, to actually speak in a complete sentence.
珍しい組み合わせだなと思ってさ。
確かにな。でもこの前のことあっただろう。ほら、有村の勢いに思わず和樹がって。
Yeah, it is still surprising that actually happened. When Kazuki had talked, huh?
そういや、あれはさすがの僕も驚いたな。なんだって初めてのことだったから。
Even Kazuki herself was taken aback by the fact that she had actually spoken to another person in English. Well, Japanese, but English as well, obviously. But getting her to do that a second time is easier said than done.
だな。今まで笑い声は聞いたことあっても、喋ってるところなんて聞いたことなかったし。
Arimoto and Kazuki were talking happily. But from here, I couldn't tell what they were saying. Hear what they were saying. And by the look of it, Arimoto was doing all the talking and Kazuki was just shaking and nodding her head. But she didn't seem upset or bothered at all.
そういや最近仲いいじゃないか。有村と。
Yeah, the bond between them has been growing.
はあ
Especially considering the fact that Hinae actually confided with Takuru about her own sentiments towards her so-called quote-unquote friends at Heikyo Academy. What was he talking about?
とぼけんなって。この前も放課後に二人で楽しそうにしてたって聞いたぞ。
Well, they were talking to each other. Whether it was a great time or not is up for debate. Serika must have told him. Of course she did. God, where did she get these ideas? I wonder.
別に特別仲がいいってわけじゃない。ただ有村はほら、言ってみれば同類みたいなもんだろ。だからそれなりに話したってする。その程度だ。
なんだよそれ。もったいねえな。
もったいないって何がだよ。
知らねえの。有村ってあいつ結構人気あんだぜ。
That's because she pretends to be a popular person.
人気？人気って要するに男子の間でってことか。
だってほら見ろよ。見てくれだってまあそこそこレベル高えし、誰とでも明るく接するタイプじゃん。
Anybody, you say?
それはあいつの能力が。
そんなのはどうだっていいんだって。みんな知らねえんだからさ。要は受け取る方がどう受け取るかってことだろ。
The problem isn't how people see her. The problem lies in the fact that how she sees them, and she sees quite a lot. That made sense, maybe. Arimura was just trying to avoid making enemies, but on the other hand, that meant making friends. Actually, it doesn't, because they're not really friends.
にしても、お前ほんとそういうの疎いよな。それでよく人のこと情弱だなんだ言うぜ、まったく。
Yeah, well, there is a certain thing known as misdirection.
あのな、伊藤。勘違いしているようだから一石ぶってやろうか。言っておくけど、誰かが人気だとか誰と誰が付き合ってるとか、そうした情報なんてこの壁標学園というほんの小さなコミュニティ内での些細でどうでもいい情報でしかない。そんなこと知っていたところで真の状況とは言えないし、ましてや物事の真実を見極めるような大舞台は待っていないぞ。せいぜいがギャルゲーの中での親友ポジション止まりだ。
誰がギャルゲーの親友キャラだ、誰が。
That was very meta of you there, Takuru Miyashiro. I tip my hat to you, good sir.
さっきのお前の発言なんてそのものじゃないか。
言われてみりゃ確かにそんな発言だったような気がしてきた。
Mind blown, the world of Chaos Child is slowly becoming aware of itself.
ほら、どうでもいいことで落ち込むな。授業始まるぞ。
Oh, it is morning, not afternoon. Ito looked really depressed for some reason. I tried to cheer him up, then looked back out the window. Arimura and Kazuki were gone.
タク、今日は部活あるの？
Serica came by as soon as school was over. Well, that was a pretty quick day.
特に何をするってのもないけど、一応部室には行こうと思ってる。それにしてもお前早いな。
お？うん。今日はなんか授業が早く終わったから。
まあいいや。それじゃあ部室に。
ChäoS!
And yeah, there's Hinae. Now it was Arimura's turn to barge in. She opened the door, as energetic as ever. At the same time, the whole class started to stir.
おい、あれ有村ひなえだろ、2年の。
ほんとだ。俺ああいう裏表なさそうな元気な子って好みなんだけど。
As the old adage goes, looks aren't everything.
つうか、うちのクラスに何の用だ？
宮代先輩は、あ、いたいた。
Everyone was surprised to see her walk straight over to me.
はあ、嘘マジで。
つうか、なんで宮代みたいなやつのとこに。
宮代先輩、チャオっす。
Ciao.
おう。
What Ito had been saying was evidently true, it seems. I could feel all the boys in the class glaring at me. It kind of made me feel superior. Might want to quash that feeling before somebody else does.
あ、セリも来てたんだ。チャオっす。チャオっす。
At some point, Seruka had started copying Arimura's greeting.
ところで有村までどうしたんだよ、わざわざ。
やだな。私がここに来る理由なんて一つしかないじゃないですか。
A reason that is going to be lost on the imaginations of everyone else in the class, I imagine. One reason.
例の件、なんか進展あったかなって。
いや、特に進展といったものはないよ。
Indeed. No new
ありゃや、
developments.
そうっすか。残念。
I take it Shinjo hasn't told you anything further either.
あれ？でもタク、今から部室に行くんじゃないの？
まあ、一応そのつもりだけど。
Yeah. Pretty much that's the reason why we're going to the club room is because nothing has happened
じ
yet.
ゃあ、ひなちゃんも一緒に行けばいいじゃん。え？だってタク一人じゃつまんないでしょ？
Well, Seruka actually does have a point there.
一人って尾上は来ないのか？
私は休養があったのを思い出しちゃった。
Somewhere you need to be, you say.
そっか。
ちなみにのんちゃんは生徒会の仕事で、しんちゃんも今日は用事があるって言ってたよ。
So Kurisu and Ito aren't going to be there either. Come to think of it, the two of them had disappeared.
そういうわけだから、ひなちゃん、今日はタクのことお願いね。バイバーイ。あ、セリ？
Like that, she's gone. Seruka left the room before anyone could stop her. What was she doing here? Just me and Arimura were left.
別に尾上の言うことは気にしなくていいぞ。
I don't like the sound of that laugh.
なんだよ。
先輩、忘れてません？私の能力のこと。
What was she talking about?
まあ、先輩も一人で部活ってのも寂しいでしょうし、しょうがない。付き合ってあげましょう。
おい、別に僕は寂しくなんてないし、付き合ってくれとも言っていない。
Or did I actually think I'd be lonely in there by myself? No, but that's not entirely fair. Kazuki is going to be there. On the computer, of course. But, she'll be there.
はいはい、わかりましたわかりました。それじゃ、レッツゴー。
What are you, Mario all of a sudden? Arimura wrapped her arm around mine and dragged me out of the classroom before I could protest any further. So much for trying to avoid creating gossip. Seeing the jealousy in the other boys' eyes made me feel kind of good. It really shouldn't.
あれ
When I got to the club room, I was surprised to see that someone was already there. Certain someone who is always usually there.
あれ、花。なんだ、来てたんだ。
Why wouldn't she be? I mean, it's not like we keep forgetting that she's even here in the first place. Kazuki was playing her game like always. When she saw us, she nodded slightly.
なになに、何やってるの？また演出？
You read her mind.
演出ってそんなに面白いの？
Yeah, Kazuki thinks so.
そっか。だったら私も今度やってみよっかな。
If you're into spending long hours waltzing through an MMORPG.
おいおい、嘘だろ。
Seems like Kazuki wouldn't actually be adverse to the idea of having someone else join her in her SO2 adventures. Kazuki smiled. I'd seen her laugh when she found something funny on the night we'd stayed over for the school festival, but I'd never seen her smile so happily. Actually, she'd been talking to Arimura yesterday too.
なあ、二人ともいつの間にそんなに仲良くなったんだ。
いつって、先輩も知ってるでしょ？つい最近ですよ。話してみたら意外と馬があったっていうか、ねえ。
Maybe since Kazuki didn't talk, it was easier for them to get along. Maybe they made a pretty good pair.
それにしても普段どんな話をしてるんだ？
別に普通ですよ、普通。学校であったこととか、プライベートのこととか、昔の話とか。
Looked like Arimura's expression clouded for a second. Yeah. Especially with that last part. Seems as though Hinae is confiding with Kazuki regarding her family situation.
まあいいじゃないですか。それより先輩、事件のこと。一応昨日の夜、例の刑事さんから連絡があったんですけど。
At least he actually rang you that time.
何か新しいことでも分かったのか？
なんにも進んでないっぽいです。ほんと警察って肝心な時に役に立たないですよね。
そっか。
Yeah, and of course they're going to have a real hard time trying to get any useful information out of Riko. once Shinjo had told Arimura the underground facility at Tokyo General Hospital had totally disappeared. Of course, because Uki was rescued. That in and of itself was a big development, but that also meant all our clues were gone. And then there was that Uki Yamazori girl. They were looking after her at that freezer place, but all she did was cry. They couldn't get any information out of her, or even get her to explain who she was. Since Arimura brought it up, I've been hoping there'd be some new development. I felt a little let down.
言っときますけど先輩、だからってまたいろいろと探り回ったりはしない方がいいですよ。それと例の能力ですけど、まさか使ったりしてませんよね。
Haven't used it so far.
言われなくても大丈夫だって。
Things were calming down, and we hadn't been attacked since then. But that didn't mean the case was over.
ふむふむ、どうやら本当みたいですね。じゃあ、いい子いい子してあげます。
I knocked Arimura's hand away.
やめろって。こんなことで嘘ついたってしょうがないだろ。
でも一応念を押しとかないと、これ以上知り合いがあんな目に遭うのは嫌ですからね。
By that, she was probably referring to Kakita. Kakita was investigating the Gilomaniacs, she said. He'd suspected that some huge organization was involved, but whether they were responsible for the crimes, or if it was all that Riko Haida person, I didn't know. Yeah. However, at this point in time, I know who is truly responsible for what's been happening. Either way, it was probably a good idea not to do anything until I knew.
それより先輩、いい加減連絡手段なんとかした方がいいんじゃないすか？今みたいな状態じゃ何かあった時に困るんですけど、ほら、今の私たちって一連卓勝みたいなもんじゃないっすか。
Yeah, probably should get that replacement. In this together, huh?
どうかしました？
別に。でもそうだな。確かにそのうち買わなきゃなとは思ってるよ。
I couldn't stay without a phone forever. Without one, I couldn't call for help if I needed it, among other things.
よし、じゃあ買いに行きましょう。日曜日に決まり。
It certainly looks like it then.
は？何勝手に決めてるんだよ。そもそもなんで日曜なんだ？
Why Sunday indeed?
その方がいろいろ息抜きもできるし、楽しいでしょ？
楽しいでしょって、もしかして一緒に来るつもりか？
だって私もたまには息抜きに遊びたいし。
それなら友達と遊びに行けばいいじゃないか。
Were you not paying attention to what she was telling you before?
先輩が言ってる友達というのが私がよく一緒にいるクラスの子たちって意味ならまっぴらごめんです。
なんで？
楽しくないんだもん。
Yeah, it probably wasn't a lot of fun if you knew when the people you were talking to were lying to you. Wait.
それって裏を返せば僕とだったら楽しいって
ほら、先輩は私の能力のこと分かってるじゃないですか。それだけでこっちも気分的に楽なんですよ。
She was right. I couldn't lie. If I knew, she could tell when I was doing it, and even if I did, I wouldn't be able to keep it up. Which begs the question, that was probably I heard that slight hesitation in your voice there. That was exactly how I was acting around her right now. But didn't that mean she could have fun with anybody who knew about her power?
だったらせっかくだし尾上も誘って。
Suddenly I felt the light impact on the back of my head. I turned around and saw that Kazuki had given me a chop to the back of the head.
おい、いきなり何するんだ。
Oh, so that's it.
分かったよ。和樹も連れてけって言うんだろ。
Or not. What's going on?
尾上は誘うなってことか。じゃあクーですか、伊藤。
Kazuki's raised fist landed straight on top of my head. Evidently, she didn't want me to invite anyone. At all. Absolutely no one at all.
日曜の正午にハチ公前でアディオスグラッシャー。
有村
And she's gone. Both Arimoto and Kazuki had vanished before I had a chance to stop them. Sunday in front of the Hachi statue. I didn't really have any plans. I wanted to see if the sumo stickers were gone too, so I didn't mind going. But shopping, just the two of us. It sounded like a date, even though all that's happening is buying a new smartphone, and that's it. Nothing else.
デート
Maybe not. And it's nighttime. Even after coming home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I've been practically forced into meeting with her on Sunday. I was going out shopping with a girl. Seen from the outside, would that be considered a date? Possibly, by outside observers. But if going shopping with a girl made it a date, then I've been on plenty of dates with Serika and Kurusu. But... yeah. The date was supposed to be the kind of thing the Cool Cat Press wrote about. You know what? No. That was a little different than what I'd done with Serika and Kurusu. When I went out with Kurusu, we were always going grocery shopping and stuff. I was just there to hold the bags. You couldn't call that a date. And Serika would just tag along whenever I wanted to go somewhere. You couldn't call that a date either. Neither could you say the same about buying a replacement smartphone either. What was the exact definition of a date anyway? Buried in obscurity and vagaries, really. Two members of the opposite sex meeting at a designated time, the dictionary said. That's very nondescript, to be honest. Which meant that maybe all the things I'd done so far weren't dates, and what I was doing Sunday was... But wait, I couldn't get too far ahead of myself, and I would probably laugh at us at the very notion. Even if I thought it was a date, if she didn't, I'd end up looking like a fool. But still, if Arimura did think it was a date and I couldn't escort her properly, I'd still look stupid. Minami Carter's column in Cool Cat Press always said that a man who couldn't make a woman happy was scum. Something that probably Hinae, Kurisu, Kazuki, and Serika would all probably agree on. Scum.
大丈夫。僕はリア充だ。
If it was a date, it would be good to be prepared. And if it turned out not to be, I could just change my plans. If I could just get all the how-to knowledge crammed into my head.
こういう時、女の子は誘っている。
No. Just no.
女が喜ぶテクニックのすべて。
Also no.
モテボディの作り方。
Third time, no. Yeah, I don't think any of that counts as dating advice. In fact, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that all the information in Cool Cat Press doesn't relate to dating at all. Where was he? He always showed up when I didn't want him, but now that I needed him, he was nowhere to be seen. Happens every time.
いた、ケンさん。
おお、タクか。なんだ、血相変えて。もしかしてお前も一杯やりたくなったかい？
Hail and well met, Grand Master Gen of Miyashita Park.
そうじゃなくて、あれの新しいのない？
あれってなんだ？
Looks like he's already had a few too many drinks already.
だからほら、いつものクールキャット。
ああ、あれな。どうだろうな。
あるなら欲しいんだよ、明日までに。
明日まで？それは無理だな。
そう言わないでさ、頼むよ、俺なら弾むから。
God damn it, Takuru. October 18th, Sunday. The clock read 3 minutes to noon. I checked the time, took out a bottle of Mountain View, and took a big gulp. Still prefer Dr. Pepper myself. If I hurried, I could make it to the station in 3 minutes, so there was no need to panic. Yet. I cleared my head and opened up the March 1999 issue of Cool Cat Press that Gen had rushed out to find for me. Wait, it's like these are very old versions of this. Your first date, a real man's choices. This was the article I've been looking for. Did all the know-how I needed for my first date. Yeah, no. Over the last 3 days, I've gone through this and every other issue of Cool Cat Press to prepare myself. I was now the normiest of normies, the ultimate normie, you could say. No, you're just a Cool Cat Press otaku, not a real normie. And this is what my normie database was telling me. Arrive late. Going to piss her off. Not only would being late keep her in suspense, it would also heighten her excitement for the events that were about to occur. Not really. I checked the time again and it was noon exactly.
よし、そろそろ行くか。
I think you're being fed incorrect information there, Takuru Miyashiro, which inadvertently would make you the ultimate wrong-sider. I took the long way round Shibuya station and headed for the statue of Hachi. And there she was. Just calling it now, with a completely angry expression all over her face. Yeah. Yeah, I called it. I remember the phrases I'd read 1,000 times last night as I got close to her. You run up to her out of breath and say, "I'm sorry, did you wait long?" And then she'll say, "No, I just got here. Cool Cat Press, March 1999 edition." There's a problem with that, Takuru. It's not 1999, it's 2015. A lot has changed in the 16 years since then.
よし、行くぞ。
And there's one more thing that you forgot.
ごめん、待った。
遅い。
Yeah, in what existential universe did you think that was going to work, Takuru Miyashiro?
やってんすか先輩。女の子待たせるとか超ありえないんですけど。
いや、その。
こんなところで待たせてナンパでもされちゃったりしたらどうしてくれるんですか。さっきだってもうちょっとで声かけられるところだったんですからね。
This doesn't make any sense. Spoiler warning, makes perfect sense. Cool Cat, what's going on? It's your fault for believing in dud information.
振り返って睨みつけたらどっか行っちゃったからいいけど、あのままだとすっごーく嫌な思いするところだったじゃないですか。
ごめん。
まあいいです。次からは気をつけてくださいよ。
Yeah, it's not as if this was meant to be a date or anything. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, definitely not meant to be a date.
はい、わかりました。
At all. That one just didn't happen to work out. Oh, you think? Next time, it would work for sure. Hint, it's not going to work next time, for sure.
そういえば、その服なかなかいいな。
Cat dating tip number 2. Praise her outfit. Takuru, just going to be straightforward. If the first so-called dating tip didn't work, what in the 9 hells would make you think the second so-called dating tip would ever work? Every girl loves compliments. Her clothes, her hairstyle, doesn't matter what, just tell her it looks good. Problem with that, Hinae's power will immediately let her know that you don't actually mean that you're just talking from route.
あれ、この服前も着てましたけど。
そうだっけ？
まったく、それって全然私に興味ないってことじゃないすか。ちょっとショック。
そんなことは。あ、そういえば髪型、前髪切った？
切ってません。
Was it that obvious? Failed again. What is going on, cool cat? What is going on with you, Takuru?
そんじゃ、行きましょっか。
Yep. Time to grab a smartphone, grab a bite to eat, and then go home. And then go to school the next day.
そうだな。それじゃあまずは、あれ？
Just... Arimoto had started walking before I could say a word, yeah. Just get the smartphone, Takuru.
おい、どこ行くんだ？
どこって、スマホ買いにでしょ？
Yeah, that's pretty much all that's happening.
え？
先輩のってどこのでしたっけ？それとも DU？ ハドバン？どっちにしてもこっちですよね。
A lot of new brands. Also, Takuru, I think you've led yourself down a misconception of your own there. You really are an idiot. Anyway, some new tips. Docono, a Japanese cellular phone company. They got their start with the pager business and are Japan's largest and oldest cellular carrier, famous for the mushroom-shaped mascot. I don't know about the mascot, but I remember when pagers and old-school mobile phones were a thing back in the 90s. Those were fun times. Do, a Japanese wireless phone company. Their phones have been popular ever since before the days of smartphones for their unique designs and functionality. They have had many dedicated fans. And HB, short for Hard Bump, a Japanese wireless phone company, famous for their marketing strategies and the ability to dominate the public discourse, as well as the white dog character in their commercials.
ひょっとして格安の SIM フリー端末ですか？だったら
Wait, they have SIM-free phones? SIM-free. At most large cellular phone companies, a SIM, subscriber identity module, the module that links a certain number to a certain phone, is locked so that a single SIM can only be used with a single phone. A SIM-free phone, however, does not have this lock on it. Since a SIM-free phone can be used with multiple SIMs and thus multiple phone numbers, it allows you to use your phone outside of your home country. Good to know.
あ、いや、こっちで大丈夫だ。
そうですか。じゃあ行きましょう。
Arimoto nodded and started walking again. That's right. I've been so focused on the word date that I'd forgotten why I'd originally come here. Well, let's get this over with. It didn't take too long at all to get a new smartphone. Once I picked out the phone and re-registered my phone number, I was able to pull most of my old data off of the cloud. My photo was gone, but unfortunately there was nothing I could do about that. Well, mission accomplished.
ちゃんと登録しました。これで何かあった時も連絡取れますね。
Yeah, that we can. Now it's the time to go grab a bite to eat, a burger, a soda, or maybe some chicken or a pizza, and then head our merry way. Separately. The first thing I did once I got my new phone was to add Arimura's number. The problem was what to do now. I'd accomplished my goal for the day. Time to head home. But I couldn't just let all the know-how I'd built up on how to be a normie go to waste. Well, hate to break it to you, Takuru, but it's already been wasted. First, I needed to confirm that she didn't have any other plans. She probably doesn't.
あのさ、有村、この後だけど。
で、どうします？これから。だって時間はまだまだたっぷりありますよ。せっかく出てきたんだし、このまま帰っちゃうのももったいないじゃないですか。
Well, there is still time for food.
そうだな。有村さえ良ければ、この後どこかに行くってのもありかも。
Arimura spoke up before I could finish.
じゃあどうしましょう。ちょうど時間的にお腹も空いてきたし、なんか食べにでも行きます？
そうだな。
Yeah. Can't spend a Sunday on an empty stomach. This was perfect. I'd had my eyes on a couple of restaurants just in case this happened. At times like this, it was important to pick a place that a girl would like. That was what a normie had to be able to do. The problem was that there were too many good options to choose from. It was a time to consider the location and the weather and temperature. Well, it is a very fine day out today. Cool Cat had insisted I take all of these into account.
とりあえず何系がいい？この辺ならいくつか候補が。
じゃあお任せします。
そうか。
Well, way to put us on the spot there. I called up the map I had in my head.
じゃあ、あそこに行ってみようか。
And away we go.
ここですか？
あれ、確かここだと思ったんだけど。
Where I thought I'd find an Italian restaurant with a delicious lunch menu, I found a ramen place. And there was a big line too. Looks like your map memory led you astray there.
ラーメンですか。まあ嫌いじゃないですけど、 さすがにこの列は。
だよな。
Doesn't make any sense.
そうだ、この近くにもう一軒あったと思うんだけど。
But is there? Right up this way.
現在改装中。
Oh dear. Grr, it didn't say that online. I started to get a bad feeling. My reputation as a right-sider was in danger. I think that reputation got torn to shreds a long time ago.
待て、確かまだ他にも。
私、あそこがいいな。ほら、いつも行く、
って、ラックスか。
あそこって月替わりのランチやってるでしょ。私、今月のまだ食べてなくて。
Yeah, Cafe LAX it is. Because where else?
お主らか。今日は二人か。いつもの席が空いておるぞ。
And she's not smiling for once. The waitress led us inside.
マウンテンビューとオレンジジュース、マンスリーランチ2つじゃの。しばし待つがよい。
We ended up coming here, huh? What a
やっ
surprise.
ぱり生き慣れたところの方が安心しますよね。
Well, considering the fact that Riko Haida is currently locked away, I feel considerably safer.
そうだな。
Then again,
もしかして落ち込んでます？
落ち込む？なんで僕が落ち込まなきゃならないんだよ。
マニュアル通りに行かなかったから？
straight to the
と
point.
りあえず褒めてみたり、道路歩くときに車道側歩いたり、人気のお店をリサーチしたり。
違うぞ、それはリア充である僕にとって自然と備わっていることであって、別に特別リサーチしたなんてことは。
Digging your own grave there.
やっぱしてたんですね。
That's right. I was talking to Arimura. There was no point in trying to lie.
まあそんなことだと思いましたよ。だっていつもの宮代先輩と違うんだもん。
Come to think of it, Arimura had said something similar before.
僕ってそんなに分かりやすいのか。
すっげすけです。
Ouch.
でもそれって悪くないですよ。
気休めはいいよ。分かりやすいとか言われて喜ぶやつなんていないだろう。
気休めじゃないですよ。少なくとも私にとっては一緒にいて安心できるってのは大きいです。
それって。
あ、ほら来ましたよご飯。
Yay, food.
ほれ注文の品じゃ。心して食うがよい。 んですか？
いや、食べるよ。
How was I supposed to interpret what you just said? I kept thinking through the rest of lunch, but I never came up with an answer.
先輩、まだ時間ありますよね。もうちょっと付き合ってもらってもいいですか？
ああ。
そんな身構えなくてもいいですって。別にどこに行くとか考えず自然で行きましょう。自然で。
So I ended up walking around the city of Shibuya with Arimura, without doing a single item on my date plan.
あれ可愛くないですか？
Was there any point in just wandering around with no plans or goals? I wasn't sure, but I guess we're just killing time.
先輩はどういう服が好みです？
そうだな。僕は
やっぱ露出多めのとか？
違う、そういうのは。まあ嫌いじゃないけど。
素直でよろしい。
I was surprised to find that part of me was enjoying it. Maybe that was just because there was no point in trying to pretend to be someone I wasn't around Arimura. And the day goes on.
次はどこ行きましょうか？
But it wasn't just that.
そういえば先輩、知ってます？この裏に。
おい！
Suddenly Arimura fell forward and almost tripped. I quickly grabbed her hand. Yeah, that asphalt is pretty rough.
間一髪。危ない危ない。
こんな何もないところで転ぶとか年なんじゃないのか？
しっけえな。先輩より若いですよ。まあでも一応お礼言っときます。ありがとうございます。
うん。
I felt a little awkward somehow and went to let go of her hand.
もうちょっとこのままでもいいかななんて。
Fortunately, I still didn't have the courage to let go of her hand. And though, she lying? Telling the truth? Things started to feel awkward and embarrassing.
ね、あの二人見て。仲いいよね。私たちもあの二人みたいになりたいね。
I could hear people whispering as we passed them. Normally I would have quickly moved away. But today for some reason it didn't bother me.
なんか不思議。
何か？
私って普段はね、いつも自分を装ってるんです。だからそのせいで本当の自分っていうのがわからなくなっちゃうんですよね。普段友達とおどけている時の自分、それとも思ってもないことを言われてムカついてる時の自分、それでも笑顔で笑ってる時の自分、どれが本当の私なのって。 でもなんか先輩といると自然な自分でいられる気がします。これが本当の自分だったのかなって。
I suddenly realized that Arimura hadn't been overly energetic today, or cold, like she was when we first met. If this is who she really was, then maybe I could feel relaxed when I was around her too. That is a nice sunset, by the way. It was a different kind of peace than I felt with Seruka and Kurusu. Maybe it was just a kind of sympathy because we were both gigalomaniacs. A part of me didn't think that was so bad.
それじゃあ今日はここで。ありがとうございました。楽しかったです。
こっちこそ。
Arimura and I both seemed to forget that the whole point of this was just to get me a new smartphone. I think you were the only one that forgot that. She didn't.
それじゃあまた。
うん。また。
Arimura smiled a little and disappeared into the Shibuya streets. She didn't say her usual goodbye, but that was probably because this is who she really was. I could still feel her warmth in my hand when I closed my fist. Hinae Arimura said her goodbye and walked a while before turning back. She could see Takuru Miyashiro standing in the crowd. What she just told Takuru was how she really felt. Until now, whenever she'd been talking to a friend or to a boy, she'd always pretended to be someone she wasn't. It was the same with her uncle's family, who she was staying with. Her uncle and his wife were basically good people, but she knew that at times they felt sick of her. Sometimes other people's feelings could be like a knife in your heart. And when they were good people, it only made it worse when you found out they didn't really mean what they said. But that's just how people are. And I have been dealing with that for years. And now, for some reason, when she was with Takuru, she felt better. Of course, she hadn't felt that way when she'd met him at first. She hadn't liked him at all, in fact. No surprises there. He was a coward and a smart aleck. That first impression was probably right. But she could feel something delicate within him that went beyond all that. She might have seen a piece of herself in him. Not wrong there. The way he panicked or tried to force himself to pretend that he was calm. She found herself laughing when she remembered that, and she laughed when she saw herself laughing. To Arimura, these were all new experiences. She should have been exhausted from all the walking she'd done today, but strangely, her steps were light and quick. So, that's why she was sure that someone else had done it. Just as she went to go down the stairs, she felt a small impact on her back. 2 hands. Uh-oh. By the time she realized she was in danger, she'd already missed her step. The world spun. She could see the sky. There was a dull pain in her arms and legs, and she could hear someone running away. It took a while for her to realize that someone had pushed her. It wasn't a prank. Someone had tried to kill her. "2008.
ひなえ、どうした？食べないのか？
うん。あらあら、今日はひなちゃんの好きなものばかりなのに。
どうしたんだよ、ひな。調子でも悪いのか？
大丈夫。いただきます。
わかった。さては好きな男の子でもできたのね。
That guest is buried somewhere in the Arctic. But how cold it is.
何？それは本当か？
ほら、そういう時って食べ物も喉を通らなくなったりするじゃない？
ひなえ、そいつはどんなやつなんだ？ちゃんとした男か？家は父親の仕事は？
もうあなたったら、それじゃあまるで結婚相手みたいじゃないの。そういうんじゃないわよ。
そうか。すまん。お父さん思わず慌ててしまって。
やだわ。でもひなちゃんもいつか素敵な人と出会えるといいわね。私があなたに出会ったみたいに。
ああ、そうだな。
Yeah. Mom and Dad were smiling gently like always. Nothing had changed. But Hinae now knew now that it was all a lie. It was only by chance she'd found out. On her way back from a school trip, the bus had been stopped at a light. She looked out the window and seen someone who looked like her mum. At first she thought she must have been mistaken. She had to be wrong, because the woman that looked like her mum was walking down the street arm in arm with a young man. She looked again and again to make sure that she was wrong. But the more she looked, the more certain she became that she was right. Doesn't bode well. Hinae wasn't young enough anymore not to know what that meant. Of course not. She wasn't sure if she should tell her dad. If Mum was lying to Dad, if Dad was smiling while she lied to him, then that was just horrible for him. But she was wrong. Dad was cheating too.
お兄ちゃん、話したいことがあるの。
ひな、どうした？
Something tells me that this isn't going to go down well. Hinae was still too young to keep her parents' problems to herself. The only person she could rely on was her big brother Shingo. She told her brother everything. About Mum, about Dad. Of course he'd be shocked. At least, that's what she thought, so she was totally surprised by his next words.
そうか。お前も知っちゃったのか。
her brother knew. Her brother was the one who taught her not to lie, but he'd been lying to her too. It felt like a terrible betrayal to her. Maybe at the time, but I think that Shingo Arimura was actually trying to be a good person. Everyone was lying. Everything around her was built on a lie. Hinae wanted the truth. But what was the truth? She was too young to know. But there was one thing she did know. Her brother had been hurt too. He'd been suffering alone, keeping a secret that he couldn't share with anyone. From that day on, the only truth she had was her bond with her brother. They were siblings, sharing the same pain. That bond was what kept her going. Hinae became even more dependent on her brother, and her brother responded by coming to love her even more. When Hinae was just a year or two from graduating elementary school, her brother said to her,
高校を出たら家を出る。だから、ひなも一緒に行こう。
From that day on, those words were what kept Hinae going. Her bond with her brother, and her hopes of escaping her parents' lies. And that became her new future and her truth. But 6 years ago, on that day, that dream was destroyed. There was a dazzling light, and a great shaking, and she found herself buried in the rubble. Oh dear. Something tells me that I think I know what happened to Shingo, at the very least, if nothing else. But anyway, we're back with Takuru at Hikyo Academy, which is where I'm going to leave this episode of Let's Play Chaos Child. And when we return, adventurers, well, we shall have to wait and see how things unfold from here. As always, until next we meet.